can save a person, 3 things are very destructive, and 3 things elevate a person. 3 and 3 and 3. قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم 3 منجيات: خشية الله في السر والعلانية، والعدل في الغضب والرضا، والقصد في الفقر والغنى، و3 مهلكات: هوى متبع، وشح مطاع، وإعجاب المرء بنفسه، و3 درجات: إنفاق من الاقتار، والعدل في النفس، وبذل السلام للعالم. The hadith says 3 things bring salvation: fearing Allah in private and public, being just in anger and in pleasure, or when we be pleased, and moderation in poverty and wealth. Then he said 3 things bring destructions: following one's desire, obeying greed, and self-admiration. And 3 things elevate a person in rank: giving charity while in need, being just to oneself, and spreading peace to all people or to the world. What are the 3 that save a person? Start with them, explaining them. خشية الله في السر والعلانية. Fearing Allah in private and public. What it means to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether seen by others or not, is a sign of sincere faith. What do we mean by this خشية الله في السر والعلن? A Muslim is a person, his life is consistent. The private and the public. When a person is alone or a person in a gathering. When the person is not being seen by people that they know, or they have been seen by people they know. They fear Allah, they feel the conscience of Allah, they be conscious of Allah, they feel the presence of Allah. They are always the conscious of Allah in all circumstances. Because one of the biggest problems is the private sins that come into the nafs, into the heart, and then become a habit, and then shaitan asks us to make it public. But it begins by getting used to committing sin in private. And that's why a Muslim is a person is consistent in his relation with Allah, whether a human being held them accountable or not. The fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most important aspect in their decision making. And that's why you need to read a hadith, many hadith of fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in private. But one of the hadith of the 3 people who were trapped in a cave, and one of them, and all of 3 of them actually, have done something that fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in private. But the first person that has parents who went to sleep before they had their dinner, and he brought the milk and stood, beside them, and didn't wake up until Fajr. But he was holding that pot. The second person is a person that he was in a position to commit fahisha with a woman, and then he was reminded to fear Allah, and he didn't do it. And the third person is a person that somebody worked for them, they didn't get their pay, they kept their money, and they grew to business, and when a person came, they receive a lot of wealth. They grew their wealth. And there's so many places in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that مَا يَكُونُ مِن نَجْوَى ثلاثة إلا هو رابعهم ولا خمسة إلا هو سادسهم ولا أدنى من ذلك ولا أكثر إلا هو معهم أينما كانوا ثم ينبئهم ما عملوا يوم القيامة. There's no time that three people have private conversation among themselves, or five people having conversation themselves, without Allah being the fourth or the sixth, or less than that, two people, even a person whispering to themselves or talking to themselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears them and sees them. It's one of the things that my father rahimahullah taught me. He said that before you go to sleep, if you were to practice this exercise, you say to yourself, Allahu yarani, Allahu yasma'uni. Allah sees me, Allah hears me. Allah sees me, Allah hears me. If you do that every night, our hearts become aware of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by the way, this khashiyatullah fi sirri wal alaniya, that means a person, if there's no one watching them at the time, they'll still adhere to the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other day that a person, a Muslim person, found something at the airport of valuable, very valuable. And he went and reported. And the person, the owner of that valuable things, asked the lost and found. He said, can you tell me who brought this? They said, the person brought it, person like this and that. He said, you have in the telephone number. And they took his information. He's a brother work at the airport. And he received a call. And the person said to him, there's a few people like you in this world. And the person told them, I did it because I'm a Muslim. Imagine what that means to that person. That to hear, and how that could impact that person, to see a person who's Muslim and his fear of Allah, feeling the presence of Allah, letting him have honesty and integrity. Of course, there's many people who have honest in this world who have other faith as well. But he said that he does not even cross his mind 1 second not to report it. He took the immediate one. Somebody left something on the floor. Now, to muraqabat Allah, and many people like that. I've seen people, they lose sleep because they found somebody's wallet. And there's no idea, even in Sudan, until they find that person. Khashiyatullah fi sirri wal alaniya. Also, it means that no showing off. A person that does what is in public, same in private. Where you pray in private, where you pray in public is the same. You don't seek witness, human being, to witness your action. The second, al-adl fi al-ghadab wal-rida, which means to be just in anger and pleasure. To uphold justice regardless of the state of our emotions, whether we're angry or pleased. This is, by the way, something my grandfather rahimahullah used to say. It's very easy to be just when you're not angry, but it's more difficult when you're angry. You know, sometimes we say something that when you're angry, it's out of line, and anger sometimes comes from envy, some hasad, and jealousy. When you have envy against somebody and hasad against, we say horrible things. We will not be fair. We will not say something fair about them. And that's the marad al-qulub. This is a disease of the heart. Al-ghadab العدل في الغضب والرضا. Even when you counsel people in marriage, somebody is angry with their spouse, and then you tell them, tell me good things about your spouse. You know what they say? I don't remember. Really? You've been married how long? 17 years? 18 years? Went blank completely. It doesn't work overnight, you forget it, but because the person is angry. When we angry overshadow our thinking. And sometimes we do things, hurt other people, harm other people. And as I said before, when you talk about that in ربع المهلكات, is the lack of ability to control oneself. And when we're angry, it comes from the idea that a person wanted to have revenge, wanted to have, get back on somebody. But even the idea of anger, it comes from loss of control. A person wants to have what that other person have, jealousy, envy, hasad, grudges, and so forth. But to be just, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَى لَا تَعْدِلُوا. Don't let disliking of a person make you not be just to them. You might not like me, it's fine. Or I might not like you, it's fine. But I have to be just to you, you have to be just to me. You have to be fair. For disliking somebody, to say, I don't like this person, okay, you don't like them is one thing, but being just and fair to them. Okay. Give them due process. Allow a person to have. That's why a man said to Umar when he said to him, I don't like you. He said, don't like me is one thing. Are you going to be unjust to me? He said, no. He said, I don't care. A man said that to Umar. He said, you don't like me, it's fine. But I want you to be just to me. The third is the idea of moderation in poverty and wealth. القصد في الفقر والغنى. Maintaining a balance in spending, avoiding both overspending and stinginess. This idea of balance in Islam is so essential. And the reason that I chose this hadith as transitioning to Munjiyat, Imam Ghazali, because this hadith summarized all the books that we studied before and the book we're going to study after that, of Munjiyat. This idea of qasd, striking a balance in life, is one of the most essential things in our attitude as Muslims. We are ummah of mizan, the ummah of balance. There's some people, when they have the money, they start overspending. And when poverty, when the money is tight, then they become moderate or sometimes become stingy. Stinginess and overspending. Both can happen in poverty and wealth, when you have wealth. Now, how do we do this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَىٰ عُنُقِكَ. Don't hold your hand tied to your neck, being stingy. وَلَا تَبْسُطُهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ. And don't overspend. A person in dealing with wealth has to know that every penny, Allah will ask us how we earn it and how we spend it. The biggest problem with wealth is shahwa, desire. How do we use our wealth in satisfying our desires? Umar radiallahu anhu saw a man bought a meat. Ali, bought meat and walked in the street and said, Umar, you're Umar. That Ali used. He saw, Umar radiallahu anhu saw a man cutting a meat. قال ما هذا? What is this? There's no grocery bag carrying in the hand. قال لحم اشتهيته فاشتريته. This is a meat. This is a meat. I desire and I bought. قال ويحك كل ما اشتهيت اشتريت. Woe to you. Everything you desire, you just buy. You don't just buy everything you desire. That you have to put your desire in check. القصد في الفقر والغنى. And then he says, صلى الله عليه وسلم, ثلاث مهلكات. Three things bring destruction in the spiritual sense. هوى متبع, following one's desire. And here meant blindly following our whims, disregarding divine guidance. And Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen a person have taken their desire as their God? And اتباع الهوى is one of the biggest idol worshipping in America, in the world. Today is worshiping of desire and ego. There's no biggest idol than that. Egoism is the biggest idol. If it's feel good, just do it. I did it because I want to do so. I do it because it makes me feel good. There's no boundaries. There's no hudud. Allah said, تِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ فَلَا تَعْتَدُوهَا. How do we fight the hawa? Hawa like a wild horse. What do you do with a wild horse? Wild horse. Horse not be domesticated. What do you do with the horse? Huh? How you do that? How you train a horse? How you make a horse be able to be domesticated and be able to ride on it? What? What? Okay, but you start riding on it first or not? Okay. Gradually. And then when you ride on it, it also might try to throw you off. That's your nafs. That's our nafs. There's a gradual way of disciplining nafs. Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, has an amazing manual. I would like you really, this 15 years of recording of Ihya Ulumuddin, I don't know if you can listen to the 15 years. We've been doing this for 15 years. Subhanallah. At least 15 years. Am I correct, Brother Wes? Close to 20 years. Okay? And just our two students, they are very consistent. Brother Wes, Brother Rizal. They've been very consistent in my class. We age together in this class. Now, I was just teaching, I was in Chicago, teaching a student Al-Alim program. And I was explaining to them that how do we navigate, challenges with our desires or nafs. First, you have to know the nature of ourselves. Am I an angry person? Am I an egoistic person? Am I, have this desire or that desire more than... Therefore, to define and to diagnose the problem. And then, by understanding what we're struggling with, then we'll be able to control our nafs from that aspect of it. There's some people who have more inclined to spending money, more be inclined in physical desire, more inclined in food, more inclined. What are we finding ourselves? What drives us? What kind of desire drives our behavior? And then by understanding that oneself, Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah did amazing analysis. All of his did al-muhlikat over these 15 years. First of all, he established in the beginning the book of knowledge. He said that you have to understand, who you are, understand the relationship with Allah, because all start here, thinking, or perspective, or view of life, the world view. Then he went to the issue of Tawheed and Ikhlas, and then Sha'air, worshiping of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the daily prayers and so forth and so on. And then he went to Ruba al-Adat, Ibadat, Ilm, then Ibadat, and then Adat, habits and so forth. And then went to Muhlikat. And now we're going to talk about Munjiyat. If you take this as a manual, analyzing one behavior and to say, where do I need to make the change? What are the tools that I need to make the change? Well, one of the things that explain the issue of controlling of desire is to create a program by which reducing the intake. I'm talking about things that is halal, not even haram. When a person have a particular desire that they find to be strong, then a person reduce the intake. Whether it's food, whether the watching, being online, not watching haram, just wasting time, they reduce that. In the beginning, it's like muscles. There's a physical muscles and there's spiritual muscles. It hurts in the beginning. And then as you, alhamdulillah, I had a brother that was a personal trainer one time, and he wanted me to get to be on shape. He got me on the treadmill and says, don't stop now. Another minute, another 2 minutes. I told him there's no person like really scolding me and controlling me like you did. Even my parents didn't do that. Therefore, keep going. And sometimes it hurts, but he says, your body going to get used to it. In the same thing in the spiritual sense. You have to be a treadmill in the spiritual sense. You have to do some weightlifting. And then when your body gets used to spiritually, I'm talking about the inner state, then it will become easy. There's some people, very difficult for them to work off a Fajr prayer, for example, because the desire to sleep. That's hawa, especially in the winter.
Another thing about sports.
Yeah.
When you get to a point where when you miss it, when you don't do it, you really miss it. Your body wants to do it.
Exactly, because you have this hormone when you are that's why the athlete, they have to run every day. Because there's a hormone actually in the body, they get used to this. The same thing in the spirituality. I was talking to my brother the other day. We're talking about grandfather. Always we talk, get the story from my grandfather inspire us. And he said to me that, my grandfather one time was sick. And he not feeling well, and they have to do tayammum. And because he has strong fever sometimes make you not be disoriented, he would pray like Dhuhr 2 times. Like, I didn't pray. They said, you just prayed. And I want to pray again. Your body get to it. Now, it is very important for all of us to see what hurts in the spiritual sense. Maybe my difficulty, I'm eating too much food and snacks between and so forth. To cut on that, it's going to take some time. But Fajr prayer, for example, walking for Fajr prayer, let's go back to Fajr. There's many people said my struggle is praying Fajr on time. Why? Because it's a time that your body get to relax and rest. And shaitan, actually, Rasul said this is shaitan, is specialized in Fajr. Fajr shaitan will come to you and says, don't get up. The bed is cozy, it's nice, especially in the winter. This electric blanket, very dangerous. And when a person gets used to it, and in summer because the Fajr come early too. If a person get to pray on time, their biological clock will wake them up. Because they become like the need. Like a person get up to eat, a person get up to pray. But that requires discipline. Some scholars, if they missed tahajjud, tahajjud, not Fajr. What they used to do, they sleep on the floor. No mattress. He said, you make me miss tahajjud? Talking to himself, to his nafs. You're not going to have nice mattress tonight. So for the next day, his body will call for tahajjud. Now, it's one of the most important things of the controlling the hawa is a social environment. Nothing makes you or make us go after desire more than a bad company who cheer us up and encourage us to follow our desires. And nothing more better for us than good friends who hold us accountable. The problem that we don't take friendship as accountability. You know, you hold the person accountable. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Or if I want to do something, change my behavior. For example, I've decided not to eat sugar. I have to tell somebody, says, I'm not eating sugar. Now, when somebody sees me about to eat a cookie, I said, Imam Majid said not to eat sugar. What happened? Like, subhanallah, I forgot. That's a reminder. You need somebody to bounce the biggest sounding board. The second of the destructive things is shuh muta'. Shuh muta' is allowing greed to dominate our behavior, which is leading us to be selfish, self-centered. You know, this idea of individualism, being self-centered, being individualistic, I. Did I talk to you before about the difference between a spider and the bee? Did I talk about that? Do you know what the difference between the spider, the insect, and the bee? The difference between them? The spider, the female, does what to the male? What it does to it? It killed the male. After you get pregnant, killed the male. What happened to the mother? Killed by the children. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ أَوْحَنَ الْبِيُوتِ لَبَيْتَ الْعَنْكَبُوتِ. The worst household, the household of the spider. Not because of the web, because what it does inside that relationship. What happened in bees society? Coordinations, helping one another, building it together. There's no self-centered. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it an example. In Ankabut, in the spider, Allah said what? The disbeliever, their action like اتخذوا من دون الله آلهة كمثل العنكبوت اتخذت بيتا. Like a spider have taken a house. In bees, what Allah says, أوحى ربك إلى النحل. Allah inspired the bees take homes here and there, being guided. Therefore, in our life, the more we're not self-centered, the more we're communal based, the more we care about our members of our family, the more we care about members of our community, we're fulfilling what Allah wants from us. Shuh muta', I and I. Very destructive. Let's teach our children not to be selfish. Tell our spouses not to be selfish. We should not be selfish with our spouses. Because in Islam, the more you give, the more you get from Almighty. That's why the reason that some people give up of helping others, when they don't get the praise they need, the reward they need. If you do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless what they, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We feed you Allah for the sake of Allah. We don't want anything in return. Whether the person say thank you or not. Matter of fact, Imam al-Ghazali said, rahimahullah, as you remember, those who've been 15 years with me, when he talked about zakah and sadaqah, he scared me. He said, if you give somebody zakah or sadaqah, and you tell them, make dua for me, he said, you have asked for the return, the payback. And you should not have done that. You should not have asked for that. You should not have asked for that. Because you're putting pressure on them to make dua for you. Give them whether they make dua or not. Even dua. They said, don't ask them for dua. Because you ask for compensation for your sadaqah. You hear what I'm saying? This is one of the most difficult things for all of us. I was talking to a group of activists one time. And they talked, I'll give one of the sisters actually put it in her social media. I said one of the things difficult for us in activism is whether we get the reward in this dunya by somebody praising us or not. Do you get the acknowledge? Do you get my name in somewhere? I need to make a name for myself. You don't make a name for yourself. Do it. If somebody even curse you, somebody said bad things about you, do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do it for Allah. You know, sometimes we have weaknesses. You want to be recognized and so. It's drive people desire for doing things. Now, you know, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah himself, people have burned his books, burned the books of Imam Ghazali. People spit on the face of Ibn Rushd rahimahullah. People beat up Imam Abu Hanifa. They almost killed Imam Shafi'i, executed him. They beat Imam Malik. They torture Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Doesn't matter. Now, shuh muta'. What do you do then in family? This is my idea. In family, we have to promote inside our family service. To ask one of the children to help their brothers or their sisters. Today, this person is going to clean the dishes. This person is going to vacuum the floor. This person is going to do this. It takes away the self-centered. Not only might clean my room, but clean the common place in the house. Who's going to serve the dinner tonight? You know, when we were young, we didn't have sink where you wash your hand. We used to wash people's hands before they eat, and wash hands people after they eat. I don't know if you know that in other cultures. We bring the soap and one of the elderly, an uncle, very funny man. I want to wash his hand. He said, no, I don't want you to wash my hand. I want my grandchild to wash my hand. I said, okay. I said, the grandchild, you want you to wash. When he washed his hand, he said, may Allah reward you and your parents and grandparents. I know that he didn't want me to give him the dua, I gave it to his grandson. And he looked at me and laughed. No. But it is that kind of act of service make you have different perspective of life. Trust me, I didn't have a bed of mine on my own until I came to America. Not a room, a bed called my bed. All my childhood, I don't have a bed of mine because our home was, you sleep whatever is available. There's not so-called assigned bed. This is a communal thing. You go in, you get up in the morning, and there's some people sleeping in the house. You never know them. They come last night, and they give them dinner and so forth. I have a grandfather, rahimahullah, never ate alone. One time they put the food for him because they thought everyone ate. They thought he ate. He went to the street, brought somebody on the street to eat with him. Shuh muta'. The problem that we have a kind of environment that created this shuh muta'. Greed and dominant. Become dominant. The greed become dominant in our life. Drive everything, in our thinking, in politics, in our economy and everything. It's about me, me, me. That leads always to selfishness and injustice, because it's all about, even in individual level, nation levels, everyone wants to take more gold, more oil, more this, more money, more this and that. There is enough in this world that can feed every human being. By Allah, wallahi, if humanity stop being greedy, there is no a single child in this world will go to bed hungry. Can you explain to me why people of Gaza are being killed, begging for food? And people around them, they sleep with full stomachs and throw half of food in the trash? Why people of Gaza are dying because of no food? Why? And every person have family and so forth. People have the power to make this go away. They sleep in wall at night, seeing children dying. Don't you have children of your own? How are you sleeping at night? And a child begging for food and somebody should kill them? How do you sleep at night? We talk about more human rights and compassion and so forth. What's the compassion with human rights? Hypocrisy. Just hypocrisy. This world of greed, of injustice, lip service. You cannot give human rights lip service. You cannot give law of law, applying the law and lip service. There's nothing real. This is a lie. Shuh muta'. And then the third one, all of this, by the way, is what? Muhlikat. The third one, إعجاب المرء بنفسه. Being so admiring oneself and have arrogance that lead to downfall of a human being. إعجاب المرء بنفسه. There's some people believe that they have all the truth. They want to correct everyone else. They've been designated as supervisor of American Muslim communities and so forth, and correcting people like everyone else, pointing finger to everybody else, but they won't point finger to themselves. When you do like this, one finger, 3 fingers toward me and 1 finger to the others. SubhanAllah. Arrogance is one of the most destructive behavior. قال, walk with humility, because the earth you're walking on made of human bodies. You know that? بأن أديم هذه الأرض من هذه الأجساد. Who tell you that when you drive on the street, some times ago somebody have not died here and buried in this ground. You never know. You're walking in people's bodies. منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم منها تخرجكم تارة أخرى. From earth we made you, to earth will return you, from earth will resurrect you. You know what happened to believers though? The believers, their body dies, but the soul celebrate. The soul celebrate meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the soul there's no elements in the soul that can be destroyed. Imam Ali, radiallahu anhu, I told you that before, karamallahu wajhu, he saw a man walking very arrogantly in Kufa. But he said to him, come down. هذه مشي لا يرضى الله. Allah doesn't like you walk like that. He said, do you know who I am? You're telling me to walk with humility? I just hit the $1 billion. You know, I'm 50 Fortune worth of companies. I'm in cover of magazines. The most man alive, whatever it is between. Imam Ali said, I know who you are. He said, who am I? I know exactly who you are. He said, who am I? قال أنت الذي أولك نطفة مذرة وآخرك جيفة قذرة وبينهما تحمل العذرة. You are the man whose beginning was a liquid, humble liquid. Every human being, nutfa, a drop. وآخرك, the end of your life, جيفة قذرة. Oh, shukran, my sister, thank you. And the end of your life will be a stinking body no one would like to keep. جيفة قذرة وبينهما تحمل العذرة. That means all of us, our body goes. But for the believers, the body goes, but the soul what? Go to Jannah, celebrate. You know what I mean? But he said to him, that's who are you? And when you are alive in this dunya, you have a need to go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom. That's who you are. The man folded his dragon cloth. You know, when people do service, humble themselves and serve people, Allah will elevate them in Jannah. They will be served. Sayyidah Khadija radiallahu anha was told before she died that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will build her home in palace in paradise made of gold, and she will be served, and she will know exhaustion, no sickness, no tiredness. Allah that make for that for your mother, Mubina, brother Awais. That's what it will end up. Like, this dunya is limited, is short. هذه الدنيا قصيرة، رحلة قصيرة. Very short journey. Everything will become past tense. The only what dealing with is the future. And the future is coming, akhirah is coming. The dunya is leaving. إن الدنيا مدبرة والآخرة مقبلة. The dunya is leaving and akhirah is coming. And he says, because we have limited time, ثلاث درجات. Three things elevate us. الإنفاق من الإقتار. Person giving while they've been in need themselves. This is a high level of generosity. You know, when Katrina took place, you know, people in Texas was hosting people. And the imam there, one of the imam told me a story. It was very touching to my heart. He said one of the brothers come do a fundraising for a masjid. And one of those, the masjid hosted the Katrina people. People lost their home, lost their shop. And the brothers keep, give. And one of the brothers, one of those people who've been housed in the masjid, has $40 in his pocket. And the brother says, give, Allah will give you. Give, Allah will give you. Give. He said he put his hand in his pocket, put it out, and finally he gave the $40. This is a true story. He gave the $40 in his pocket. After the fundraising and things like that, a brother walked to him and said, brother, you're one of the people here from Katrina. He said, do you want to have a job? He said, yes. He said, what do you used to do? He said, I used to be a manager of clothing store. He said, subhanallah, that's what I'm looking for. He said, how much are you going to pay me? He said, I'm not going to pay you that much, but 40,000 a year. I'll give you 40,000. My brother gave $40. He said, we're going to start with 40,000. He said, subhanAllah, that's all I need now for the time being. But his $4. And then he said, he didn't know that his brother gave $40. He said, I'm going to give you 4,000 in advance so they can find a place to live. True story. He gave the money when he needed. You know, there's a saying in Sudan. They say, al-fugara yaksumul tamra. People who are poor, they give half of the date. You know, they take a date and give half of it. It's amazing that the story of the Sahaba, when they're dying and water was given to them, they give it to the first Sahabi. He heard the other Sahabi say, He said, please give it to this man. They're all thirsty, wounded. He took it to the other guy. The guy said, heard the other person that in pain. He said, give it to him. The other person said, no, why do you do this to me? Go to give it to the first person. When he went to the first person have died, the second person have died, they give. They don't want to drink water knowing that the other person is in need. They want to let go of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described a group of people like this in the Quran, which is the Ansar. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. They let go of their need, even they are in need, but they let go because they want to fulfill someone's need. وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي حَاجَةِ أَخِيهِ كَانَ اللَّهُ فِي حَاجَتِهِ. Whoever fulfills the need of somebody, Allah fulfills their need. Now, العدل في النفس. How much time we have? What time Maghrib? 32? Okay. I will say this so you can ask me questions. العدل في النفس. And this is something that I'm trying to teach people this. Learn it myself and teach people. Being just to yourself. Listen carefully to this. How do you be just to yourself? Quran talks about people who wrong themselves. وَمَا ظَلَمْنَاهُمْ وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ إيش يَظْلِمُونَ. We have not wronged them, but they wronged their own soul. لَا تَظْلِمُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't wrong yourself. Each one of us have to believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have bestowed honor upon us. قَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah have honored you and I. We should not dishonor ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made us important creature. He elevated us above all the creation of His. Most of His creation. We should not belittle ourselves. 3 things a person must understand. Each one of us have access to infinite mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each one of us have access to infinite forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each one of us have access to the infinite power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. we should not belittle ourselves. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam telling us, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't belittle any good deeds you might do. Even a smile in somebody's face. The difference between humility and low self-esteem. Difference between humility and low self-esteem. At the same thing, the difference between arrogant and self-confidence. Self-confidence is not arrogant. And low self-esteem and beating on oneself is not humility. But I would like us to know that nothing brings dignity and honor to us than being a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abdullah and Amatullah. No other title. No doctors, no engineer, no business, no sheikh, no imam. Is being a servant of Allah, a worshipper of Allah. Abdullah and Amatullah. And therefore, when we commit sin, we hurt ourselves. Then we have to fix it by repentance. To believe that Allah will not forgive us, we wrong ourselves. To have somebody tell us that we're not being forgiven, that's wronging oneself. لا تيأسوا من رحمة الله. لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Don't despair the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second, or the third, have shared spreading peace. How do you spread peace? Peace is not a slogan. Peace is a state of oneself that being shared and manifests itself in relationship with others. Peace is the relation with oneself that manifests itself in relation with others. For example, what is the highest level of peace, inner peace, you think? The highest level of inner peace. The highest level of inner peace, when you find peace with yourself, what is that? Al-Iman, faith. Faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. Wallahi, no matter what we're looking for, if you look for it other than in Allah, we'll never have inner peace. قال ابن القيم رحمه الله, Ibn al-Qayyim says, in the heart there's a void. Nothing will fill it except the love of Allah and longing to Allah and being close to Allah. Al-unsu billah wal-qurb min Allah wal-ta'alluq billah. Nothing will fill that void except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything else is a facade. It's a facade. Let me explain to what's going to happen, inshallah, in this class. Next week, Imam Kiba will teach, inshallah. We'll be in Turkey, out of town. But we're going to start the Ruba al-Munjiyat. I'm going to prepare every class, inshallah, from where I'm going to begin and end in the book, with the help of Brother Weiss. I just volunteered him. And then in that, we will have action items. What are the things we need to do after we heard what Imam Ghazali is saying? And therefore, we're going to divide Tawbah section to particular classes. And then Shukr and Sabr. Because are the things that if we live by, our life will change. Those are the things that will save us in next life and this life. That's why I call munjiyat. Things that save us, inshallah. Any questions of what I've said today? Any explanation? Things you want me to explain more? Or any objections of what I said? If you object to what I just said. reflection, objection, questions, all welcome. Yes, this is hadith. رواه البيهقي صححه الألباني. authentic hadith of Rasul. ها؟ الألباني واحد من العلماء سوريا صحح الحديث. عصر الحديث هذا. نعم. Yes, ربع المنجيات. I'm going to show you a curriculum so they can be able to follow. I'm going to read from the book. I'm going to explain the book, but I'm going to divide it to sections, inshallah. ربع المنجيات. Any other question? Yes, sister. Differentiate between humanity, humility and belittling yourself. Yes. The sister asked a very important question. How do you differentiate between humility and belittling yourself? Umar radiallahu anhu saw a man walking in the street, walking like this. He said, why are you walking like that? Stand up. This is not humility. Because you're belittling, where you're walking is not humility. It's not humility if somebody not feeling well in this room, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us, and there's a medical doctor can help, say, I'm not going to say I'm a doctor. That's not humility. Then let go of your responsibility. We want to hire somebody, we want somebody to do work at the Adam Center. We want somebody to be in the board. And if you're qualified, you don't say, I'm humble, I'm going to be behind. I want you to come forward. I want the best of people to become, in charge. Therefore, if, قالوا لا يصلح الناس فوضى لا سرات لهم ولا سرات إذا جحالهم سادوا تهدو الأمور بحر الله ما صلحت فإنهم تولوا بالأشرار تنقاد. They said that a person have to come forward, a person like Yusuf alayhi salam was a humble man, but he said, اجعلني على خزائن الأرض. Make me in charge. I can do this job. That's what is arrogance when you're belittling people and reject the truth. When you feel that inherently your race, your color, your gender, male, female, being better than another person, that's arrogance. But that self-confidence is not arrogance. Other questions? 2 minutes. In these 2 minutes we'll make dua. اللهم أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت الودود اللهم كن لإخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين يا رب العالمين اللهم من الجوع فاطعمهم اللهم إنهم خائفون فأمنهم يا رب العالمين مظلومين فانتصر لهم يا مولانا يا عظيم. Oh Allah, we ask you to help our brothers and sisters in Gaza. Oh Allah, they're hungry. Oh Allah, give them food, and they're being wronged. Give them justice, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Oh Allah, they're instead of fear, oh Allah, give them security. And all of those who've been wronged around the world, whether our brothers and sisters in Kashmir, the Rohingya, the Uyghurs, and whether people in Sudan, Ya Allah, provide for them, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, and in the war in Sudan, and bring peace and tranquility to Syria and all places where there's fear and worries about life, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask you, Allah, to make us good examples in this country, to our neighbors, to people around us, our workplace, where we be the people of justice, people of fairness, people who care about others, most vulnerable people in society, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. Those who passed away from our family, Allah, forgive their sin. اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لأمهاتنا وآبائنا يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, forgive our parents who passed away. Shower them with your forgiveness and your mercy يا رب العالمين. دكتور مبينة, Brother Farouk, Father يا رب العالمين. اغفر لهم وارحمهم وعافهم واعف عنهم واكرم نزلهم واسع مدخلهم واسم خطاياهم بالماء والثلج والبرد. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. صلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.